Welcome back to you, Pumpkin. We just had the Jackson Hole Symposium. So the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, just spoke about the forward guidance on some interest rates, and it was pretty much a nothing burger. The market interpreted it first as good, and then bad, and then good, and whatever. So he basically made no change, and he mentioned that the interest rates might go up a bit again, but it doesn't really matter. Most of the damage is done. They might do, one or two more hikes. And when it comes down to it, he spoke to the crowd about inflation. And he spoke about core inflation, showing that, there's a normal CPI that we see, which is like 3%. But the core inflation, right, the sticky one is like 4.2. And they said, yeah, we might need higher for longer. So when you see these, you might think, they're not going to cut rates. But that's good, friends. It's good. I got to just tell you something. Just some like market wisdom, knowledge here so you know. The US Fed, they hike rates into a strong economy. They hike rates when people have propensities to spend. They will cut rates when no one wants to spend, when it's weak. All right? So the next FOMC is in 25 days, and you can have a look at the rate chart here. It's 80% chance here for no change. You can see in the top right, there's a tiny little 80% chance, 20% chance of a hike. So you can actually click here and you can see what it does. So we've got 5.25%. That's the lower bound here. If you go forward, see, basically by November, the market's saying, there's a 50-50 chance you've hiked once by November. And then by December, same thing. You see, it's the same thing. The market is really like, are we really going to hike again, etc., etc. So don't worry about any of these. Just know that the market's doing what it wants to do. And the S&P 500 at least hasn't collapsed. I don't want to jinx it, but, a lot of us were wondering why crypto's going down. It sucks because crypto's still down here and then this thing went up. But at the end of the day, let the S&P do its thing. You see, when the trap forms, right, the trap, very sad to talk like that. When the trap forms, it'll probably be when the S&P is stalling out. But it won't look like it's stalling. It'll look like it's going to keep accelerating. But then that's actually the end. You can go back in periods of time. It looks like, it's slowing down up here. These are weekly candles, by the way. Small weekly candles. Up, and then snap one day. So we might find something like that. I wonder what's going to happen to the crypto market. Are we going to coincide with some euphoria? We'll wait and see. And this is the Bitcoin weekly chart. You can see we are still around $26,000. We are still green on the weekly super trend, and that's all we can really go off. We are green. Yes, we are below the golden rope, 21 EMA. But the good thing is we've stalled a bit, and now we can see where we go forward from here into the Bitcoin halving. I don't know if we're going to repeat everything of the past, but if you'd like to know, 3 out of 3 times, so this is literally 3 out of 3 times, before the Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin had retraced 50% of its damage. 50%. So if you do 50% from the $70,000, you get about 35K. And now I have a fib tool here. So you can use the Fibonacci, friends. This is interesting. I just went through and I've shown I showed that if you do a fib from the top to the bottom, it hits the 50% retracement from the fib itself. Now, this is better because you're starting your 0 point at the low of the Bitcoin price, so it raises it up. That's really cool. So in all of the times, almost except one, it hits 50% here, which would be $42,000 US for Bitcoin. There was one scenario, the very first cycle, Bitcoin never went to the 50%. It went between the 38% and the 50%. If we go here, it is $38,000. So at least we have this range. So 38 to 42K. That's very fantastic that we can see this number before the Bitcoin halving. Look at this. I know. Look at this crazy. Look at this little box here. It says at some point, if we repeat history for this will be the 4th time, we will come into this area and tap it. It can tap it just for like 1 day, 1 hour, doesn't matter. At some point, we're going to get there. That's what I think is going to happen unless we really think this time is different. But you know what's fascinating? I just told you that the US Fed said, you know what? We're not cutting rates. We're not going to budge. Inflation's too high. We've got to leave it. So wait, it's almost like the market's a beautiful collective pricing mechanism. It's like we kind of know the Fed's full of it. the Bitcoin price, it's a function of world liquidity. It's a good proxy for that, for big institutions to come and punt. So if global liquidity is going up, you should see the Bitcoin price rise, and then converse on the way down. So we might find, between the next 6 months, we somehow do this little pop-up and we come back down. Now, we don't have to do this exactly. We can go pop, we can do nothing, we can die and then come back right on the Bitcoin halvening. We can go up faster than we think and then just dump forever. We don't know exactly the pattern, but at some point between now and April 2024, I'm hoping, praying that this time isn't different and that we get 4 out of 4 times for a Bitcoin halvening pre-run. And that's why I'd like to bring you this cool stat now. Cool destruction as well, but we have had 6 red Septembers for Bitcoin in a row. 6, literally 6 years in a row, red. Can you believe that? Every single year, pretty much. Will this one be the 7th red September in a year? If we go back to the chart and I put it on a monthly time frame, you'll be able to see something. You'll be able to see, I'm going to show you right now, that when it comes to Bitcoin, even though I know it goes down a lot and we get destroyed, but it's actually very rare for it to have more than 2 red months in a row, unless you're in a deep bear market. So forgetting the bear market, but once you've cleared the bottom, there's only been one time where it had 3 red candles in a row. There was always a green one. Now, of course, this is like tongue in cheek. You could get like plus 2% for September and then continue going down. That's very possible, of course, but it is something to think about. And we haven't had euphoria. Nobody was euphoric. Everybody's still waiting for higher prices. We don't know what's going to happen. So I don't think we're repeating 2019. I think we are more like 2015 or 2016. And I did make a poll because I want to know what you're thinking about, what you're feeling. That's why you like, subscribe, bell button, all, because I appreciate every single one of you. Press like. Let's shock the algorithm. We can all feel that it's going to be a scam month. I made a poll. Let's have a look at this poll. Let's just zoom in for a bit. So poll, is September going to be the worst month? Again, do you think September will finish up or down? Down is 68%. It's like overwhelming majority. All of us are like, oh, it's definitely down. So this is something to think about. This is good. All right, this is good. So if you're new to markets, welcome. Please keep your back straight. Keep your fluffy slippers on. I'd like you to know that the markets do not work off narratives and fundamentals of what you think, okay? I know they're relevant, but they don't actually really work off them. What actually gives you the moves, whether they're big or small, is how people are positioned into news getting released. So you can think of a timeline that me and you walk forward along. So this is today. This is time 0. This is going to be the next 100 days, all right? This is the next 100 days. Me and you, we're going to walk forward. And at some point, there's going to be good news and a bad news. And a good news and a bad news. And a good news like that. That's basically it. People focus too much on the news. They think, what's the good news going to be? Don't worry about it. It's just going to be good. That's all you need to know. All right, Habib and Habibis, that's all you need to know. News is going to come out. It's going to be good and then it's going to be bad. All right. All that matters is what is everybody positioned for? What are the emotional people positioned for when it comes out? That is what the market works off. So for us going into September, so this is August, we're going to go into September, all right? Mentally, we are all positioned for a down month, which means a lot of people have stable coins on the sideline, or they are short, or they've also noticed that I am trending for some reason. So this means people are on the sidelines. And when they're on the sidelines, now you have to walk forward in time and you have to think, okay, let's go back to the chart here. All right, let's go back to the chart and let's change it. It's like a weekly. All right. Now, what happens when people are positioned short? So people are positioned D for down. If there's bad news and the market starts going down, because everybody is already positioned down, the move's already been done. In fact, you could say what happened in August, the 15% drop has already been what we call priced in. So there's not that much downside to go because everybody is positioned for it. But what happens if, so this is the bad news, right? What happens if there's good news? What if we get a tick? Well, all these people are going to say, damn, we're actually wrong. And that's where you might find a thrust upwards that surprises everybody. You see, that's how markets work. And of course, they work on the opposite. When you go back to the top of cycles, so this is something I learned, I'm here to share with you. When you're at the very, very top of cycles, everybody is positioned for up. Everybody's positioned for Bitcoin 100K. So what everybody loses sight of is that because they have the drugs and the endorphins running through their veins and we're so euphoric, we can't even imagine that bad news would ever come. But remember my timeline, right? There is always good news and there is always bad news. It's yin yang. It's always going to be like that. Just like there are sunny days and there are rainy days. You can't do anything about it. So when you are in euphoria, you got to look at everybody around you. You say, okay, everybody is positioned for euphoria. You know, there is going to be at some point in our lives where everybody is positioned for euphoria and then we actually get euphoric news after everybody's positioned. We're going to see that one day in our lives. I don't know when it's going to be, of course, but it'll be crazy to see this happen. So the big move will happen all the way, and then a big burst of euphoria news comes out. I don't know, the Bank of England put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and it might do actually the final 20% of the move. But you got to think about it. Because everybody was positioned for the up move, this whole rallying up, that's the pricing in part. That's the most important part. So when the euphoric news comes out, you don't have much to go. And then you might actually retrace it and you go, uh-oh. That's how you know it's actually the top. You're like, wait a minute, we just had good news. How come we're going the other way? But you pay attention to that because you are not complacent. Everybody else is complacent. Everybody else is not even thinking about the price going down because they're just thinking about how much we moved up. Okay? So it's all about positioning. That's why it's super important. Now, remember, in this case as well, if everybody's positioned for good news, when bad news comes and it surprises them, you got a big move in the other direction. All right. Now, obviously, it's not that easy. I've given you a description of this. All that matters, really, is your entries and your exits. Where are you positioned? You know, that's why now we're going deeper. Now I can share with you, okay? If you increase your timeline, friends, so, you know, what are most people doing on Twitter? I get abusive messages every single day. A lot of people trying to attack me, family, many accusations, extremely negative all day, all right? And I already know they don't even read or watch my videos because I said to you, how many times do I say I'm thinking about 2025? I'm thinking about 2025. All these other subhuman, filthy trash cockroaches, they're thinking for literally 90 days, okay? They're thinking 90 days. So what happens is, in these 90 days, they're seeing bad news come out. They're like, aha, fraudster, scamster. So they're not getting it. They just don't get it. If you increase your time period, basically, you know how we had the ticks and the crosses before, so you have good news, bad news, good news, bad news, good news, good news. This is what would happen. Over time, if you give yourself more time, you participate with more good news on average. And you participate as well on the times where the market is positioned for a down move, but then good news surprises them. And we flush it up even more. So now that's why it's important to think about September. And now everybody is positioned for a big red down month. You have learned so much, my young little peanuts. Like, subscribe, Bob, I don't know. I'm going to catch you in the next one.